good. Sorry. Inspiration, homework, and burdens. We're not allowed to be people. We aren't allowed to be both flawed and good. We aren't allowed to be three-dimensional. We are burdens, or we are oh so inspirational. I hope that I'm inspiring eye rolls at this point. You're allowed to be inspired to emit sarcasm. There's all this fear. Thank you. So there's all this fear around disability. It's contagious, or we're going to do something terrible, because that's one of the things around my disability in particular, is that we're going to be violent. Both of my disabilities, really. I am autistic and I'm epileptic, and people say really absurd things about autism, but if they've heard of epilepsy, like they know it's a thing, because there's like no epilepsy awareness whatsoever except for jokes about seizure salads. Yeah, oh my God, are you going to be violent when you have a seizure? Well, no. So there's all this fear that things are contagious, that we're going to hurt them, that we are so divorced from humanity that they can't understand us at all. And that sounds like a very scary thing. And so that fear is perpetuated through awareness and such. Oh, the door. Hi, I'm distractible.
Sorry.
So, okay, where was I? I was at fear. So they're afraid. They're afraid that we are enough not like them. They're afraid that we are going to hurt them. Okay, when we're done talking and whispering and making noise, please tell me. I keep getting lost.
Okay, I think we're good.
Are we good?
Sorry.
Okay. There's this thing about disability that's like the moral model, I call it. I think that the moral model might actually mean something different. So here I'm talking about the moral model as disability as personal failure. If you are disabled and you're not inspirational, you actually have problems relating to your disability, obviously you are a bad person. And so it's okay to treat you badly to make you into a better person. It's for your own good. It's always for your own good. They're so worried about your soul. Because your soul is the reason you're disabled. That doesn't even make sense. But I actually hear these things. My parents had me exorcised, like exorcised, like the demons. Somebody who I used to swing dance with, emphasis on used to, told me in absolute seriousness that maybe I didn't have epilepsy. Maybe I had demons.
Oh my God.
Yeah, no, right? So that I needed to ask Jesus to take the demons away from my soul, to deliver me from evil. I'm pretty sure demons are neither congenital nor inherited. My father also has epilepsy, much like mine, and he's autistic. And but we don't even believe in demons. We don't have demons. There was a child in 2002, I believe, named Torrance Cottrell, who he was autistic, and he was killed during an exorcism because his mom was trying to cure him of autism, and she thought it was demons. This was not like way back in the day with the changeling myths and all that, though the changeling myths were a thing. They're still to an extent a thing. This is a recent problem. People who otherwise are quite rational are saying, oh, well, demons. This is really dehumanizing, much as the childhood or as the changeling myths are. And if we're not people, if we are other, people can treat us poorly because it's not the same as doing it to, your normal child, your real child. The dehumanization, moral model, and changeling myths are also a way of distancing us from who they thought they were getting. They have a lot of parents, particularly of children like I was, have this whole idea that their real child was taken away from them. It used to be changelings, now it's vaccines or gluten or chemtrails or. See, I'm trying to think of something so ridiculous nobody has ever said it.
GMOs.
Say again.
GMOs.
No, that one they've actually said too. Zodiac signs. No, wait, I've heard that one too.
Really?
No,
Oh my God.
no, I'm really thinking of one that trying to find one I haven't heard of, but I can't. It's like Poe's Law. Do you know what Poe's Law is?
Yeah.
Does anybody not know? Because I'll explain. Okay, so Poe's Law is that it is impossible to make a parody that won't be taken or that is indistinguishable, or rather that is I'm having word problems again.
Indistinguishable.
Yes, that is indistinguishable from an actual extremist. There are people who actually believe all of these things. So that separates us, though. That makes us not human. That makes us not really their human. There's also the whole issue of ownership. That you have a right to a typical child, that child is an extension of you, and we're actually that's a good segue into the parents thing, the attitudes about families. Families are seen to own their youngest members. Your child is not a person until they turn 18. They are an extension of you. This is kind of garbage. We were all people for our whole lives. We did not turn 18 and get our people card. We just turned 18 and got our You Can Vote Now card. Oh wait, that's not how it works. Up until the age of 18, your parents can do pretty much whatever they want to you for your own good. There is this pervasive attitude that God gives special kids to special parents, and various atheist analogs to that. That you won't get a child with needs, or you won't yourself become disabled if you can't handle it. And that's not accurate. Parents might have a disabled child, not because they're special or because they can handle it, but because that's how their genes fell together, or because of difficulties with birth or what have you. It's just a thing that happens, and that's okay. But that doesn't give you the right, there's always this assumption that the parent knows best. Well, you know what's best for your family. What you think is best for your family isn't actually always best. It is not always best for your child. It is not always best for your grandparents. It is not always best. It's okay to not know. But we have this whole sacredness of the family thing. Attached to that is you shall not judge. Like, really, ever. It's not our business. No, how dare you judge me? I'm a parent. Recently, really recently, a mother named Kelly Stapleton, after writing a blog that was full of red flags. It is the red flaggiest thing I have ever seen. If you look it up, major trigger warning for everything. She tried to kill her daughter. She put them in a car, and she had some girls that produced carbon monoxide, and she put Issy, her daughter, in there. She's 14. And then she kept getting out of the car. She was trying to kill herself, which is why Issy, who is bigger than her, had much higher levels of carbon monoxide in her blood, right? No. But that's a whole other thing where I don't believe she was actually trying to kill herself.
Yeah.
I think she intended to survive. But anyway, so this mother tries to kill her child. And you would think that everybody'd be like, oh my God, that this is the most awful thing in the world, because it really is. And instead, parents are defending her. Other parents are. And random strangers are. You don't know how hard it is to have an autistic child. The parents always know best. She wanted what was best. She was trying, the one that you hear a lot is she was trying to deliver her of the living hell that is autism. This is from people who are not actually autistic. This particular woman was friends with some extra foul individuals who will verbally abuse and to an extent stalk people who are outspoken and saying this is not okay. So not only are these parents supporting a murderer, or an attempted murderer, she didn't succeed, but she was certainly giving it a go. They are continuing to abuse people who are speaking out and saying it's not okay to treat us this way. A number of us have gotten threats and have been followed around and taunted about our own histories via the internet. A number of us is more than 2. I don't know if that's happened to anybody here but me, but it is a thing that has happened. And whenever an autistic child or other disabled child is killed, people come out of the woodwork to talk about how the parent was showing mercy and how it was a mercy killing and how we don't know how hard it is. How dare you judge? I'm really quite okay with judging. I am.
Me
No,
too.
it's a bad thing. You don't do that. And the people who are religious and saying how dare you judge, firstly, this is a free country. I can be not religious. Secondly, the rest of that passage is judge not lest ye be judged.
Right.
And I'm completely fine with being held to the standards I have for other people. They're lower than my standards for myself. Don't kill your kid is kind of down here in the bar of decent behavior. You might trip over that standard if that's as high as you're going. We also have this thing, with they snapped. It's okay to snap on us. It would not be okay to snap on my siblings who are more or less non-disabled. They have psych issues that onset later, so they were not disabled as children. Going after my little sister the way they went after me would not have been allowed. We have also this it's not our business thing going on in our culture, where what happens in that house over there, since I don't live in that house over there, it's not my business. They're doing what's best for their family. There's also these attitudes about caregivers. This includes teachers and people who work in homes or come in and do therapy or what have you. Oh, you must be such an angel to do that. That's a thing people actually said to me when I was going to school for special ed. It's like, have you met me? I am not an angel at all, and I'm really quite okay with that. I think that people should be treated better than they are, which is why I was going into it. But many of my classmates had helper personalities. And a helper personality is that thing where you think you're helping. You want what's best for them. Forget what they want. You are going to force what is best for them on them, regardless of their actual objections, their actual needs, their actual wants. And the helper personalities were better than some of the other people I met. There's this thing. So I judge gymnastics and coach gymnastics in addition to mentoring students. I didn't have to have much of a background check when I was working in classrooms or when I was mentoring students in their home. There was like this cursory one county background check. I had to be checked every county I have ever lived in every 3 years for judging and coaching. People will acknowledge that sometimes some real creepers will want to work with children who are typical and other vulnerable populations, as long as they're normal. Normal, I hate that word. However, if you want to work with disabled people, no questions asked. Of course you're an angel. It's really awful. People will acknowledge that there's creeps in some settings, but not in others. And people who want to hurt people, they want a vulnerable population. They don't care who it is. They're going to go try to work with your grandma and help her out. They want to work with the kid who can't talk and who can't tell. They aren't just, being creepers at gymnastics meets. They aren't just watching your children play on the playground. They are going after who they think they can get. And that's a really harsh truth. But there are bad people not just after your normal, perfect child. They also tend to think that caregivers are choosing the job out of philanthropy, the goodness of their heart. They want to make a difference. In Oregon, in-home workers and people who work in group homes are paid minimum wage. If you are a nurse or nursing aide or something in an institution of some description, you probably get paid more, but the pay is not competitive. You'd have to do it out of the goodness of your heart, or more likely you're doing it because it's the job you can get. These folks don't necessarily care. It would be great if the people who were doing in-home services, assuming you can get in-home services, or the people who are working with our more vulnerable adults, helping our more vulnerable adults out, people who still have guardians and are, I hate guardianship. That's a whole other thing as well. People who are at the mercy of other people. It'd be fantastic if those were all good people. They're not all good people. And, harsh truths. If I could have my next slide, please. That would be dandy.
All right. I will see if I can find you.
Fabulous.
By the way, as he's looking
for the next slide. They do a much better job with background checks for caregivers here in this state.
Oh, good.
Ever since the Seattle Times did a whole article series back in the late 90s called Throwaway People, which just shocked the entire community, and we ended up having an initiative where we voted to raise their pay by $1 and to improve their education and to make sure background checks were statewide, if not national-wide.
I had my lack of background check when I was teaching a young boy in Illinois self-advocacy skills. And he had been through a lot. He'd been through quackery, he had been through ABA therapists. I yelled at one of his ABA therapists. Well, I taught him to say no, okay? I taught this child to say no, because what we can do, one of the things we can do is we can teach people to say no. We can give them the vocabulary. So this particular child was pretty much non-speaking. He was 10, I think, when I met him, and they said they had been looking for ABA therapists, and I said, I won't do ABA, that's not a thing I do, but I will teach him some advocacy skills. And he took to me like a duck to water.